Om. ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सच्चिदानंद रूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रय विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविरावीर्म एधि वेदस्य माणिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेन अहोरात्रान् संदधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु। अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा जिह्वे पिबस्वामृतमेतदेव गोविंद दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna, in the verses 52 and 53, which we saw in the last two sessions, Bhagwan is winding up his entire teaching or culminating his entire teaching into the pinnacle of achievement of those two kinds of knowledge which Bhagwan has given, which Bhagwan call it as two kinds of intellect. Means the intellect which is contained with the knowledge, the two kinds of knowledge or the two streams of knowledge which Bhagwan spoke about. In the verse 52, Bhagwan gave the pinnacle of achievement of a man who has lived a steady life of Karma Yoga after grasping and understanding the entire knowledge of Karma Yoga, completely doubt free, has lived a life of Karma Yoga in every action that is being done by that person. That person's achievement is what Bhagwan spoke about in verse number 52, which is which verse? Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. Bhagwan says a person who has lived a steady life of Karma Yoga after grasping a complete understanding of how Karma Yoga is to be followed in life, we're completely making it error-free and doubt-free in his own intellect, his or her own intellect. Once this person lives a life, at the fag end of the whole life of living such a life with Karma Yoga, equipped with Karma Yoga, this person is going to cross over the mud slush or the slush of moha, of delusion. And once his intellect, buddhi, vyatitarishyati, crosses over that slush of delusion, of moha, of attachment, of all those desire related things, what happened? Tada gantasi nirvedam. This person is going to attain something called vairagya. Vairagya means dispassion. Dispassion for what? For all the things which you can put forward in this creation. Remember why I'm coming back to this point. Verse 54, when Arjun asked the question, I want to bring out the beauty of Arjun's concentration on what Bhagwan is teaching, that Arjun is perfectly following that teaching. And you will see, as I read in the last session, the 54th verse, now Arjun's question is not related to the war at all. It's not related to the moha or the delusion he was in, or the misplaced compassion which he was in. Whether how should I, fight? They are all my relatives. All those questions are forgotten. All those questions have been, completely covered up. All those questions have taken a back seat. All those questions, I would say, have gone. So you will see Arjun is perfectly following the topic. And I told you in the beginning itself, one thing which, while we follow Bhagavad Gita teaching, one thing which you must see and recognize and appreciate is that if you are able to follow the teaching or not, but at least try to follow the level of concentration of Arjun. If you become like Arjun, trust me, Gita ji's knowledge will happen inside you. This is a word which I'm telling you. So Bhagwan says this person is going to, once this person crosses over the slush of delusion or attachment, once his buddhi, his intellect crosses over that, this person is on the other shore, is going to reach something called nirvedam. Nirvedam means vairagyam, dispassion. Dispassion towards what? All that has been heard already, what he knows, this person knows about to be achieved in this life, and all that which is worthy to be heard. This is what Bhagwan gave in the 52nd verse. So Bhagwan was giving the pinnacle of achievement of a person who follows Karma Yoga. In the verse 53, which we completed in the last session, Bhagwan is trying to give the pinnacle of achievement or the level of achievement of a person who has already, gained the required qualification to grasp the knowledge of Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga means the knowledge of the self, which Bhagwan talks about, the knowledge of supreme consciousness, the knowledge of the self, Atma Yoga, which Bhagwan calls, Jnana Yoga. You can say it in many ways. Sankhya Yoga is the word there. The person who has reached the pinnacle of following the Sankhya Yoga, what is the achievement of that person is what Bhagwan has given in the 53rd verse. What is that verse? Shruti pratipannate yada sthasyati nischala samadhavachala buddhi tada yogamavapsyasi. What is the achievement of this person? Shruti Vipratipannate. This person will not get moved by all the kind of achievements which Shruti talks about. His delusion about the kind of achievement Shruti means, I told you two examples of Shruti here. Shruti here actually technically means Veda. Veda means Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda talks about many levels of achievement with different kinds of action and done there. One yaga has got another one. If you call it this way, it's different one. So Shruti itself, our Veda Karma Kanda itself talks about many kinds of actions and many kinds of results which come out of those actions. There are so many results to be achieved in this entire gamut of creation. We think, even if you look at the world also, there are, one way we can say is, so many people are there in this whole world. The population of this world is so much. But the other side you must see is, so many are the avenues of work also. So many are the avenues of achievement also. So many are the levels of achievement also. So I told you another way of looking at Shruti here is, what people talk about at different levels of achievement. Now the science is growing, AI is coming, there is automobile engineering, there is medical, and within medical itself there are so many streams. Within engineering itself there are so many streams to do, and within those streams itself there are different levels of achievement. So if somebody is a software engineer, there are so many levels a person can go. Somebody may be a SAP, somebody may be Oracle, somebody may be SQL. There are so many. Somebody may be a database engineer, somebody may be something. You talk about how many levels of achievement are there, how many levels of them. Bhagwan here says Shruti Vipratipannate, and this person who has already gained the qualification required to grasp the knowledge of Sankhya about the self, doesn't get deluded, doesn't get carried away by these different levels of achievement as shown by the Shruti, Karmakand also, and also as shown by actually the talks of the people also in terms of different levels of achievement set out in the world. What happens, even though there are so many levels of achievement, yada sthasyati nischala, this person's intellect is firm that amongst all that Karmakand speaks about, amongst all that levels of achievement which people talk about, the only thing which needs to be known and needs to be gained is the self. And this person doesn't get deluded and carried away by all those things. This person's final goal is fixed. Stasyati nischala is firmly placed in the self. Samadhava achala buddhi tada yogam avapsyasi. Now this person has reached a level where yogam avapsyasi means he's reached a level of perfect unism with the self. Why? Because in the subject of the self, in the understanding of the self, his buddhi is so firm in the knowledge about the self, firm about the understanding of the self. As I mentioned in the previous verse 52 also, when I was explaining now, this person's knowledge about the self, understanding about the self, vision of the self is completely doubt-free, error-free, has got no obstacle at all. One more word I can give you. This person, while living in this world, while living in this projected world, has got a clear vision of the self. His buddhi, his intellect is firmly placed on the vision of the self. I'll give you one example which many Mahatmas give, many great saints have spoken about. Or somebody went to a Mahatma and asked, somebody went to a realized master and asked, I have so many problems, this, that, and all those things. You don't see the problem in this world going on. So the Mahatma, the great saint, told that person who was asking the question, I see the self more clearly than I see this world. That's the level of a man of realization. While in this projecting world also, this man of realization is clearly able to have a vision of the self. In this mumbo jumbo of life also, in this cultural changes and cultural adversities and good things happening in this life also, this person, this man of realization is able to clearly see the play of self in everything happening in this creation. More than he sees you and me here, this person is able to see the self more than you and me. Whereas our problem is what? The level of us is we are able to see the world more clearly and not able to see the self. This man of realization is the other way around, is able to see the self so clearly, not able to get stuck in this creation. Why? Because this person, while seeing this creation and these created objects and created situations, is able to see the expression of the self more clearly through all these things. Whereas for us, we are not able to see within us only. So what to talk about outside? Now you see, coming to the 54th verse where I left last time, Arjun's question is very clear. Arjun has picked up the last verse, what Bhagwan said, and got pretty excited with what Bhagwan is talking about, a man of realization. Now you see, his question is not so much to the Karma Yoga. His question is, with the excitement he's seeing, what this man of realization could be. I really wonder what this man of realization will look like. How this person is able to live in this life. So Arjun understood one thing, that he must have been questioning Bhagwan, that Bhagwan, you are saying that one person needs to acquire the knowledge of the self. That's the first point. Not only acquire the knowledge and clear understanding of the self, but his intellect should be firm in that understanding of the self. That means before the intellect becomes firm in the understanding of the self, before that also he had knowledge of the self. There was prajna available. There was knowledge of the self. So, there are two parts to this whole thing now. First is acquiring the knowledge of the self. And the further journey will be, once you acquire the knowledge of the self, making it completely doubt-free and removing all the questions you have. Once that is done, the next effort should be towards making our intellect firm in that understanding of the self and slowly, gradually devote ourselves to that self. So Arjun must have thought that, Bhagwan, that means you want us to develop an intellect which is firm in the understanding of the self, which means as a precedent, first we have to gain the qualification for which Karma Yoga needs to be done. Once the required qualifications are gained, then once one person is qualified to gain that knowledge, that person should first gain the knowledge of the self. That's the second step. Once the knowledge of the self is gained, that means this person also needs to make effort towards making his intellect firm in the understanding of the self, firm in the knowledge of the self. That means this person, before becoming firm in the knowledge of the self, had knowledge of the self first. So Bhagwan, that means you are saying that making your intellect firm in the knowledge of the self, is that something which we should all aim at, is something which we should arrive at, is something which we must all work towards, right? That means, Bhagwan, till the time the intellect has become firm in the knowledge of the self, till then, for a seeker, there are no great benefits coming to the seeker. Now remember, when I'm using such words, please mark my word. That doesn't mean that the knowledge of the self is not beneficial. Please don't understand that at all. What Arjun's point of view is that Bhagwan, which means what? We have to gain the knowledge of the self. Definitely gaining the knowledge of the self itself has good results. But Bhagwan, from the holistic point of view, you want us to set a goal that we must not only gain the knowledge of the self, we should also gain a firm abidance in that self. Firm knowledge means firm abidance in that self. So firm abidance in the self is something which you are asking us all to aim. Which means what? A seeker When he has gained karma yoga, you have already spoken in the verse 52 about the kind of pinnacle of achievement of a karma yogi at the level when the karma yogi follows the karma yoga and reaches that level. Then in the next verse, you're talking about a person who's gained the knowledge of the self, not only gained the knowledge of the self, has also gained firm abidance in the self. That person is the one who's reached the pinnacle of achievement, what you can attribute in this whole creation. There is no bigger achievement in this whole creation, in any cosmos put together, than this firm abidance, the knowledge of the self, and continued with the firm abidance in the self. So Bhagwan, which means what? A seeker, till the time that seeker has got firm abidance in the self, that seeker is not going to gain the full advantage of knowing the self. That's what you meant to say, which also our Upanishad says, Tarati Shokam Atmavit. One who has already gained the firm abidance in the self, has known the self firmly, has his intellect, his or her intellect firmly, placed in the self, will cross over all kinds of sorrows forever. Means what? If Tarati Shokam Atmavit is what Upanishad says, that for a person who has not got firm abidance in the self, has got the knowledge yet, has not got the firm abidance in the self, this person will remain devoid of this benefit, which I call about from Tarati Shokam Atmavit. Then Bhagwan, if that is the case, then tell me, the one who has placed his or her intellect firmly abiding in the self, gained the knowledge and continued with firm abidance, I want to know, Bhagwan, what are the properties of such a person? You see, what a beauty of a question. Exactly as per the topic which Bhagwan is taking. Perfectly in line with the topic. I don't know what kind of an intellect and what kind of a qualification Arjun has. Just think the kind of pressure on the situation. His chariot is standing right in the middle of both armies. Both armies, one is standing behind him, his own army, one is facing right him in the center, and his chariot is placed right in the front of his own army. Pandav side armies, his chariot is placed in the front. And also, conches have been blown on both sides, which means what? Declaration of war has already happened. At that time, a person who was completely drowning in something called misplaced compassion, Vishad, which Bhagwan called in the first chapter, such a person, you see his attention that is perfectly flowing with the topic what Bhagwan is talking about. I am very sure Bhagwan must have been very happy with Arjun seeing this particular question. Perfectly according to the topic which is going on, and that too with the last portion which Bhagwan said. Arjun picked up that point, verse 53, and just see the beauty of Arjun in another way. Of course, they knew Sanskrit very well. So Arjun, for such a person whom Bhagwan called Yogam Avapsyasi, Nischala Sthasyati, Samadhavachala Buddhi, for such a person, Arjun has coined 3 words. Now, see the beauty. Arjun, in his own term, now you see the beauty of the word also. Arjun has coined word exactly according to what Bhagwan has said. I'm very sure, Bhagwan must have congratulated Arjun, according to me. A guru is very happy. The happiest moment of a guru is when a student is able to grasp what is being taught, not come up with different kinds of questions. I'm giving you one example which our Puja Guruji Swami Subodhananji used to say it very profoundly. Jignasa is completely different. Jignasa means the keen desire to know. And there is something called kautuhal. Kautuhal means it's my anxiety, it's my doubts which keep sprouting out here and there. I want to know for the sake of knowing, not for resolving anything in my life. Those are like kautuhal. Now, Puja Guruji Swami Subodhananji used to say it very profoundly. If we are not ready, when we are not ready, even if a realized master comes and sits in front of us, due to grace of God and due to our punya which has been earned in the previous life, even if a great master is, comes and sits in front of us, instead of asking the question of, oh master, where do you, how do you live your life, how do you actually reach here in terms of your self knowledge, what is that you firmly abide in, and or rather asking questions of knowledge pertaining to what that great master has gained, we may end up asking question of brick and sand, ईंट और पत्थर की ही बातें होंगी. Swamiji, this ashram, how much time did it take you to build, and how much effort did it take? That Swamiji is a great realized master. Swamiji, why didn't you marry? Oh Swamiji, when did you leave home and come? Those questions have got no relevance. Those are past of the Mahatma. Mahatma has already come over them. The great master has already crossed over them. And it has got no relevance to you. The relevance is where great saint is today. Swamiji, how do you get up? How do you live your day? What do you do in your day? How do you keep so much knowledge in you? How do you actually come up with answers? How do you actually explain so deeply? How do you, for every question related to this creation or the self, you have an answer? How, Swamiji? What is that sadhana you have done? What is the effort you have put in? What you have done to reach here? Swamiji, I am not interested what you were before, but Swamiji, I'm keenly interested in what you are today. I'm keenly interested in the knowledge which you live today. I'm keenly interested in what you are giving out as a knowledge. I want to know everything you know. I want to not miss out on anything. The time I am with you, please give me everything you have, so that when I get up from here and till the time I come back to you, I don't have a vacuum of ignorance. Swamiji, give me that knowledge which makes you so peaceful. Looking at you itself, I am filled with peace. When I went to Puja Guruji Swami Subodhanandji, trust me, I was swept away in the first look itself. I was swept away in my first conversation itself. And the biggest grace of Guru and Puja Guruji Swami Subodhanandji is, and grace of God, and grace of my Acharya, my own Guruji who gave me the name also, Puja Swami Tejomyanandji also, is that I had no questions at all which came up at that time. It's not that it was doubt free, but the thing is, I didn't feel like disturbing that aura of knowledge which Swamiji was disseminating from him, that aura of knowledge which was emanating out of him. I got swept away with it. In that aura or the light of knowledge, all questions became silent. It felt like by the grace of Guru itself, I think it will be more than enough to cross over. Now you just see the question of Arjun. I am sure Bhagwan must have been very happy with this student called Arjun. What a proud moment for Bhagwan. Many of us sitting in ashram itself is not able to, in a peaceful, why I'm saying ashram, sitting in a peaceful environment like ashram, sitting at our own home, listening to topic, we are not able to generate these kind of questions. But you see, standing in the middle of a war field, what a grace of God Arjun has got. What a graceful student Arjun is. I must say, there is an inherent beauty in Arjun which we all must see. See the level of Arjun. He himself coined, with all that which Bhagwan gave till now, he coined 3 terms for such a person. And in his own words. Now, Bhagwan must have looked at Arjun. I'm just, trying to close my eyes and think what would have been Bhagwan's reaction on this question of Arjun. Trust me, I don't think I can even think over it. The kind of reaction which Bhagwan would have given. What a proud moment for a guru. You know, there are many stories which come up in our scriptures also. When Guru sees a student progressing in the path of self knowledge, there is no better thing for that Guru to rejoice. The Guru, I told you in one of the sessions also, Guru is not there to make a student dependent on the Guru. Guru is there to make a student independent in his thinking, in his or her thinking. Guru is not there to just handhold or carry a student. Guru is there to give the tool to that student so that the student can walk the path himself or herself. Now you see what Arjun's question is. I will read the question and I'll try to bring out the beauty of this question, what Arjun is bringing up. Let me try my best. I do not know how much I can do to bring out that. But you see, you must rejoice this question. Now, one more thing I will tell you. This episode, maybe because of reasons of Prakriti, is coming after a gap of almost 3 weeks. So there must have been some reason why this is coming after 3 weeks. I'm telling you, it's not out of purpose, out of me at all. I just wanted to let this episode come out, but due to some inherent reason, it just couldn't come out. Probably because it wanted to, give all the listeners a time to, rationally grasp it, re-listen to episodes and think over it and come up with an understanding. These questions are clarifying questions going forward. And I'll tell you one more thing, to bring out here. After this question, next 18 verses, Bhagwan is going to talk about the man of realization. From 55 onwards up to 72, Bhagwan is elaborating upon, or I would say, Bhagwan is reveling upon the definition of a realized saint. Trust me, God also becomes very happy when a person in this creation realizes. God wants all of us to realize. God wants all of us to move out of this stuck up feeling in this world and come out of this shell which we have put ourselves into. Wants us to achieve that ultimate which God has given us as an opportunity for all of us to come into. Let's read the question and then we'll take up the meaning. I saw the literal meaning in the last session, but we'll take up the detailed meaning in today. अर्जुन उवाच स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्थस्य केशव स्थितधि किं प्रभाषेत किमासीत व्रजेत किम् अर्जुन उवाच स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्थस्य केशव स्थितधि किं प्रभाषेत किमासीत व्रजेत किम्. There are two aspects which I must tell you before I bring out this verse. Literal meaning I told you in the last session itself. I'm going to take up the detailed meaning. Prima facie, when you read this verse may seem a very light question. It may seem, I don't know what Arjun is asking about. It seems very natural kind of a question which can sprout out of anyone. But if you see the depth of this question, you will understand it is not how it looks outside in terms of a question. Now you see the beauty of Arjun here. Arjun says, Bhagwan, in all these shlokas, you are talking about a level of achievement. Now, from that level of achievement, Bhagwan, the biggest and the highest level of achievement you spoke about is once the person gets firm abidance in the knowledge of self, which he used as once prajna becomes thira. Prajna means the wisdom, the knowledge of the self, becomes thira. Thira means firm. Means, what is the meaning which Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji gave in the last time? He gave the meaning that once the intellect is firmly abiding in the self, once it firmly places itself in the self. And the meaning of the word what Arjun is using here, the three terms which Arjun used is sthita prajna, samadhistha, and then sthitadhihi. These are the three terms which Arjun gave for the man of realization, which Bhagwan explained as yogam avapsyasi in the last verse. Samadhava chala buddhihi, Bhagwan said. For him nischala sthasyati, yada buddhi nischala sthasyati, yada buddhi samadhava chala buddhihi, tada yogam avapsyasi. Those terms which Bhagwan gave in the last verse, Arjun in his own word has translated this into three terms. Sthita prajna means one whose prajna is sthita. Prajna means the knowledge of the self. Prajna means the firm abidance in the self here. Where the knowledge of the self, prajna. One whose prajna is sthita means whose wisdom is sthita, whose wisdom is firm. Means one who has got firm abidance in that knowledge. Then now you see Arjun's beauty. He says, he coins three words differently in this verse, and he asks three different questions. He says, Bhagwan, sthita prajnasya ka bhasha? Hey Keshava, he addresses Bhagwan as Keshava. Oh my God, Bhagwan is being addressed here as Keshava here. Bhagwan, you are supreme being. You are God himself. You are the Lord of all senses. You are the Lord of this entire world. Hey Keshava, the one whose intellect has become firm, whose intellect has become firmly abiding in the self, the next word which Arjun coins for that person is samadhistha. Samadhi, remember, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji used the word samadhi as atma. So samadhistha means atmastha, means firmly placed in the self, firmly abiding in the self. Now just think over one more thing. If Bhashyakar Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji would not have explained this word as Atmani, Atma in the last verse, then you just think if you would have taken Karma Yoga as a meaning, this verse could not have been explained also. You cannot derive at the correct meaning of this verse. So since Bhashyakar has explained, we are taking up that same meaning that, here Samadhi means what? Samadhi means Atma, means the self, firm abidance in the self. So that's why, because Bhashyakar explained it that way, we are able to see this verse in its correct meaning. Now, Samadhist, the meaning of Samadhist means the one who has got firm abidance in the self, has got firm faith, firm, firmly placed in the self. Which means also what? Another meaning which you should also take is one who has not got firm abidance in the self, he or she is not placed firmly. One who has not got, or this prajna, one whose prajna or one whose knowledge is not firm, not firmly placed, who's not got the clear knowledge of the self, a firm knowledge of the self, that person cannot abide in the self firmly, right? Means what? A firm abidance in the self is what Bhagwan is wanting all of us to achieve. Which also means what? The one who has got firm abidance in the self has already gained the self. Self means Atma. So Bhagwan says, the one who has got this kind of a knowledge, Arjun is calling them as samadhistha. The third word which Arjun uses is sthita dhihi. Dhi means buddhi. Remember, one whose buddhi is firm. Sthita means firm. One who has got firm intellect. You see, samadhist, sthita prajna, samadhistha, sthitadi. These three coins Arjun term. Now, another way you can think is, Arjun is interchangeably using these words. Why? So that there is no confusion left in understanding what kind of an intellect Arjun is talking about. So Arjun says, sthitadi is the one whose intellect is firm. Which is what Bhagwan called buddhi in the last word. Now you see, yada buddhi nischala sthasyati, yada buddhi achala samadhau achala. So these words Bhagwan has used in the last verse. So Arjun is trying to put them in his own words. He's trying to coin his own words. For such a person of achievement, Arjuna has used these three words to explain. Now, one more thing I wanted to bring out. You just see the subtlety of understanding of Arjun. You see the subtlety of intellect of Arjun, that Arjun not only has heard what has been told by Bhagwan, but his intellect has understood, grasped to come out with his own coined words for such person. So that gives a introduction to subtlety of intellect of Arjun. Now remember one more thing. Another thing we can also see from here is, as I told you, Bhagwan must have congratulated Arjun for these questions. The other thing also we need to see is that had Arjun not come up with these kind of questions, probably Gita ji would have changed. Means, if now just think for a moment, Arjun would have come up with this question, Bhagwan, all that is okay, but I want to know what should I do for the war? What should I do for, Bhishma Pitama and other? The teaching would have changed. Since Arjun is moving in the same context because he's got a subtle intellect of his own, he's already gained that purity of his own. That's why Arjun is able to come up with these kind of question. What he's asking three questions here. Sthita prajnasya, just think this way. Ka bhasha, kim prabhasheta, kim asita vrajeta kim. There are four actually things here. But you need to understand one thing here, where Sthita Pragya se ka bhasha, leave it for a moment right now. We'll come to the three questions which Arjun is asking. See, okay, let me explain you here itself. Arjun's question is only three. Kim prabhasheta, kim asita, kim vrajeta. These are the three questions and Arjun has. Now the first part, in the first quarter of this verse, Sthita Prajnasya Ka Bhasha can be defined as, what is the definition of a Sthita Prajna? Bhagwan, how do you define a Sthita Prajna? How do you explain a Sthita Prajna? Who is a Sthita Prajna according to you? So Ka Bhasha means, what is the definition of a Sthita Prajna? So that's the one question he had. And then he had three questions pertaining to the man of realization. That Bhagwan, another question I have is, how this person speaks, Kim Prabhasheta, how does he speak? Kim Asita, how does he sit, means how does he live? Kim Vrajeta, how does he move around in the world? Now the beauty is that if you really see the literal meaning of this word, you will see that Arjun probably wants to know, if I really move around in this world, how am I going to identify, is this something which is a hypothetical situation which Bhagwan is giving? Is it something which is non-achievable? Bhagwan said that this is the achievement, but oh my God, there are no persons as that which can be seen in this world at all. So is there some attributes by which I can identify such a person? Are there some attributes which is seen from such a person where we can identify that this is something which is achievable in this world while living? Or is it something which cannot be achieved while living here at all? Is something which will be achieved once somebody leaves the body? So those are the kind of questions which come. When we say moksha, the most common understanding of moksha is something which is achieved after death. This is the way which people understand, because their understanding or their definition of moksha is what? Attainment of a higher loka. I told you that is also one of the ways to define moksha, but actually that's not the correct meaning of moksha. That is only an achievement. It may be higher than here, but it is definitely not the ultimate. And you can't call it realization. It is growing, like somebody gets a promotion. For example, I'm giving you one example here. There is a company which is there, and a person works very hard in that company and contributes very well to the company. How far that person can grow in that company? May become manager, then grows to become a director, then grows to become senior director, vice president, president, CEO. Okay, becomes a CEO. Then above that, if it's like a private company or a company with limited company or something, can become, one of the board member. Above that, what? That's the maximum somebody can grow, right? You can become the board of directors of the company. You start contributing to the decision making of the company at that higher level, which is above CEO. But above that, where will you go? That's the highest, right? In the same way, attaining loka is like that. It's not realization. It is definitely growth of a jiva. It is definitely a higher achievement, higher reward of a jiva to reach such a level. Definitely, no doubt, they are far higher than here. No, nothing discounting for that at all. Definitely a higher loka, so to say, definitely has got parameters which are far, far different than this world. The level of sukha is completely different. Some lokas are completely immersed in sukha. Sukha means happiness. Very, very rare sorrow, so to say, like Swarga and all. Go to, even further to Brahmaloka, the quantum of Sukha is completely different. And here we are in the world, sometimes Sukha, sometimes Dukha, sometimes Sukha, sometimes Dukha. The quantum changes. That's how the lokas are defined. Further go down to, more lower lokas, the quantum of dukkha or sorrow increases, the quantum of happiness reduces. This is how the entire loka functions in terms of higher and lower loka. There are many people in their, explanation of scriptures, in their explanation of, different kind of achievements of scriptures, they say there is nothing called swarga and naraka, there is nothing called heaven or hell. It's all mental concept created by things. That may be their own set of understanding. It's not complete. It's completely incorrect actually to say that's a very limited understanding of the whole thing. Just because you refute something is there doesn't mean that the existence will be barred or the existence will be completely moved away. That's your own personal understanding. It's got nothing to do with the actual creation. Just because you don't believe it is there, that has got nothing to do with the existence of those things. Remember one thing, what has been declared in the scriptures is perfectly and completely correct. And remember one more thing which I told you, alaukika vishay veda pramanam. For all the things which are not experienced by our senses, which are not experienced by our things in this creation, can't be experienced by us here. For that, there is only one proof, which is Veda, which is our scriptures or Sanatan Dharma scriptures. Anyway, to come to that point, if such a person, and after going through all the proof of knowledge, which is Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita and other, after the entire Pramana Vyapar means after the exchange of knowledge between scriptures and this person, for such a person, when such an intellect has arisen, has generated in such a person, and that he started to get the knowledge of the self. Now the second objective of such a person will be, after all going through all the scriptures, after going through the Praman Vyapar, after going through deep studying the scriptures, listening to satsang, such an intellect has arisen in such a person, such an intellect has grown in such a person, such an intellect has sprouted in a person, that this person starts to know that there is something called self, and that is the thing to be worthy to be known. And for such a person, the ultimate gain will come only when such a person has also worked towards making the intellect firm in that knowledge, or making an intellect reach a place where this person gets a firm abidance. So then this question will come, how we should translate this question. Bhagwan, Arjun is asking, Bhagwan, if making our knowledge of self firm, or developing firm abidance in the self is the ultimate objective, then we must translate this question also as what? I would love to know, Bhagwan, what are the obstructing factors and what are the facilitating factors for such abidance? Of course, we would want to know, Bhagwan, what are the things which I should avoid? If somebody tells you that, I would want to, in the summer vacation, I would want to go and spend holiday in hills. and some friend is guiding you, the first question you will ask, okay, how do I go there? And tell me what all will come on the way, what all I should take advantage of, and what all I should be cautious about. This is the kind of question we should translate Arjun's question like that here. Bhagwan, if I want to establish or gain firm abidance in the self, how should I act in this world? How should I live in this world? And Bhagwan is going to give you all those tools from 55 onwards up to 72. Now I want to read one interesting point which I must give you. Bhagwan Bhashyakar Shankaracharya ji is connecting verse 53 with Arjun's question in a very beautiful way. We must all know this also, because that's the way we should see it also. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji says, प्रश्न बीजम प्रतिलभ्य अर्जुन उवाच लब्ध समाधि प्रज्ञस्य लक्षण बुभुत्सया. What says is, here prashna bijam pratilabhya, after getting, till now Bhagwan has been speaking, remember, from verse 11 onwards up to verse 53, Bhagwan is continuously talking. Bhagwan is continuously speaking. Now, for such a person, and when Bhagwan has spoken like that, after gaining the question, after gaining an opportunity of posing a question, till now Arjun was a little shaken up with the whole thing. Now, after getting an opportunity, because Arjun understood, I think Bhagwan has almost culminated his teaching. He's almost, summarized his whole teaching into the achievement of a particular man of realization. So Karma Yoga he spoke about, and then he gave the achievement what a Karma Yogi will get at the end of following the life of Karma Yoga. And after that, he also said, because Karma Yoga is not going to stop there, the main purpose of Karma Yoga, after getting you Nirvedam and the other things, Nirvedam Shrotavyasya Shrutavyacha, after that it has to lead you into somewhere, right? That's not the end of it. It's going to lead you into Sankhya Yoga. So Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, to connect both the verses, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji towards the end of the Bhashya of verse 54 gives a very beautiful line which I must read out to connect you to the thing. He says, सर्वत्र एव हि अध्यात्म शास्त्रे, सर्वत्र एव हि अध्यात्म शास्त्रे कृतार्थ लक्षणानि यानि तानि एव साधनानि उपदिश्यन्ते यत्न साध्यत्वात्. यानि यत्न साध्यानि साधनानि लक्षणानि च भवन्ति तानि. Very beautiful line. Bhagwan says, wherever in the Adhyatma Shastra means in the scripture pertaining to spirituality, in the spiritual scriptures, wherever the properties of a Kritarth means a man of realization here, a man of fulfillment, a man of contentment. Wherever a man of steady wisdom, a man of realization, wherever in the spiritual sciences, in the spiritual scriptures, wherever the properties of a man of realization is explained or is brought out, it is not brought out to give certificate to a man of realization. It is not brought out to give a degree to the man of realization. That person has already become a man of realization. A man of realization does not need your or my certificate. What a certificate is going to do for a man of realization? That man of realization has already achieved what could be achieved as a pinnacle in this creation. So giving certificate cannot be the cause of explaining it here. He says these qualifications of a man of realization are basically our sadhana. They are for our efforts to be put in that direction. They are motivation for the seeker. They are pointers for the seeker to walk in that direction. They are pointers, they are qualities for a seeker to be adopted in life, qualities for a seeker to be developed in life, qualities for a seeker to work hard towards in life, qualities for a seeker to walk towards in life. Slowly, gradually gain that. Bhagavan says, Yatna sadhyatvad means if a seeker puts effort in this direction, puts effort towards gaining those qualifications, puts effort towards gaining those qualities, trust me, that seeker, these properties will also happen in that seeker. These properties will also start to come into that seeker. These properties will also start to be placed in the seeker. These properties also will start to reside in those speakers, in those seekers. Seekers. Reside in those seekers means what resides in you is what comes out, no? That which, if for example, I'm giving you an example, if anger resides in you, anger will only come out in your interaction, no? If these properties start residing in you, if these properties start to place themselves inside you, your action, how you act in this world will also sprout out of these properties. So what is the relation of these properties with the man of wisdom? For a man of wisdom, they are his ornaments. To gain these properties, man of wisdom does not have to do anything, does not have to work or put effort towards it. Yani yatna sadhyani sadhanani lakshanani cha bhavanti tani. For a seeker, these are the efforts to be put towards. For a seeker, the one who wants to work towards that direction, I use the word seeker purposively, yeah? Then the question, the natural question may come, there are many people who are not doing that. Leave those people who are not doing that. This whole creation has got enough to come in terms of punarapi jananam and punarapi. Many are making effort towards that, to be born again and again, whichever life it is. That should not be our worry at all. Yani yatna sadhyani sadhanani lakshanani cha bhavanti tani. For a seeker, these are the efforts to be put to become a realized man, for becoming siddha. Siddha means a man of realization. These are the efforts to be put by a seeker to walk towards the direction of self-realization. Actually, for a jnani, for a man of realization, these are his natural properties. Very interesting topic which Bhagavan has picked up. Of it is like a blissful thing. It's like an amrita. It's like bliss giving thing for a seeker, or who is making an effort towards firm abidance in the self. Now, before I go further into this particular verse, I want to just bring back the whole teaching to get you here. Now, remember where Bhagavan started. Now, this man of realization which Arjun has coined here is what Bhagavan used in the 11th verse. What did Bhagavan say when he started the 11th verse? Bhagavan said that, Ashochanan vashochastvam prajnavadamscha bhashase gatasuna gatasumscha na anushochanti panditaha. Now, this man of realization, which Arjun is calling Sthita Prajna, the man of realization, which Arjun is calling Sthita Dhihi, the man of realization, which Arjun is calling Samadhistha, Bhagwan has coined that man as panditaha in the verse number 11. When I explained that verse, I told you, Panda vidyate yasya sa panditaha. The one who has got this kind of wisdom. Wisdom means this kind of firm knowledge about what? Atmanatma Viveka Prajna. Atmanatma Viveka Prajna, clearly deciphering between, clearly differentiating between what is self and what is not self. A clear wisdom about that. Such a person who's equipped with such a kind of intellect, Bhagavan called that person Pandit. And you know what is the result which Bhagavan gave for such a Pandit? Na anushocanti. Very beautiful line which Bhagavan explained in the 11th verse there. Na anushocanti means this Pandit, because he has got such a firm knowledge, is not going to be affected. Anna anushocanti is not going to be affected by the pains and pricks of this life. Is not going to be sorrowful at any moment in life. Is not going to be overtly rejoicing on any moment in life also. So that's what property which Bhagavan gave. Now remember, for such a person also, gata soon, agata soon will be there. Gata soon and agata soon means there will be situations and people and things in life which must have gone also. There will be things and situations in life which are yet to come also. And they will be present also. This person will also have a past. This person will also have a present. This person will also have a future. But this person will be na anushocanti. That person is not going to be sorrowful about the past also, not going to be sorrowful about the future also. When that person is not going to be sorrowful about the past or the future, that person is also not going to be sorrowful about the current also, present also. Now, in the common parlance, we call Pandit, as you know, the another word we use is intellectuals or buddhijeevi, we call it. Now, why I picked up that term of buddhijeevi is, Bhagavan is making fun in that 11th verse itself. You for those people whom you ought not to grieve about, you are grieving about them, and you are talking like an intelligent man, an intellectual man, the buddhijeevi which we see today. Bhagavan is actually making a fun of that whole thing. So here we need to understand what Bhagavan means. There is what Bhagavan is calling Panditaha there is what Arjun is calling here, Sthita Prajna, Sthita Dhiyan Samadhistha. And in the verse, as Bhagavan said, in the 39th verse, Bhagavan said, Buddhir yogetu imam shrunu, buddhya yukto yaya partha, karma bandham prahasyasi. Bhagavan said in the 39th verse there. From where Bhagavan started the topic of yoga. So let's see Arjun's question here and see what Arjun is meaning. And I'll read Bhagavan Shankaracharyaji's Bhashya also, and then we'll take up the detailed meaning. Sthita pratishtha aham asmi param brahma iti prajna yasya sasthita prajnah tasya ka bhasha kim bhashanam vachanam katham asau paraihi bhashyate samadhisthasya samadau sthitasya keshava स्थितधीहि स्थितप्रज्ञः स्वयं वा किं प्रभाषेत किम आसीत व्रजेत किम आसनं व्रजनं वा तस्य कथम इत्यर्थः स्थितप्रज्ञस्य लक्षणम् अनेन श्लोकेन पृच्छति. Here Bhagavan after what explained by Bhagavan, I would want to read through Bhagavan Shankaracharyaji's Bhashya first so that we can understand it clearly. The moment Sthita Prajna word comes, Bhagavan Shankaracharyaji explains. You see, there is a beauty of Bhagavan Shankaracharyaji's way of explanation also. Okay, we may just ask blankly or blindly this question, and that, give me the definition of a sthita prajna, samadhistha, sthitadi, how this person is going to talk, how this person is going to move about, how this person is going to remain at a place, how this person is going to sit or something like that. Don't get caught up in that. Let's go with the flow of the question. Let's go with the flow how the text is going. You see, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji first picked up the word sthita prajna. And you see the beauty of Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji. He's given the definition of sthita prajna first. What he says for the definition of sthita prajna? Sthita pratisthita aham asmi param brahma iti prajna. The one whose intellect is firmly placed in what? Aham asmi param brahma. I am that supreme consciousness alone. I am nothing but the supreme consciousness. Such a person whose intellect is firmly placed in that, for that person, Bhagwan is using the word sthita prajna. Sthita pratisthita aham asmi param brahma iti prajna yasya saha sthita prajna. Such a person is to be called sthita prajna. Please understand the word sthita prajna also correctly there. So that's what Bhagwan meant by sthita prajna. Now continuing with the definition of sthita prajna, there are certain points which I want to bring to all of your attention. The natural and the actual result or the pinnacle of achievement of a man with firm knowledge of Karma Yoga is what? That our intellect is ready to receive and grasp the knowledge of Sankhya, means the knowledge of self. And in going forward with that, is able to put effort towards making the making oneself firm in that knowledge of the self. For in the topic of the self or about the topic of the self, our understanding should be exactly as what has been expounded in the scriptures, in our Shastra, according to how our scriptures explain in about the self. And in that explanation, our intellect should slowly, gradually start to become firm. The way self has been explained in the scriptures, in the same way, my understanding of the self should become one. And slowly, gradually, my experience of the self should also go in the same direction, how scriptures have explained about the self. The moment these things starts to happen, we should understand that my Sankhya Buddhi or the knowledge of the self have started to happen in my intellect. My intellect has started to understand or grasp that topic about the self. The way Bhagwan Krishna has explained about the self in these previous verses from 11 onwards, the day my intellect understands about the self in the same way, without any kind of doubt, without any kind of conflicting thoughts, and my experience also start to walk in that direction, my experience also does not conflict with what scriptures talk about the self, we need to understand that's a proof that my understanding of the self is started to become the way scriptures have explained about the self. My understanding is exactly going in the right direction, how the proof, eternal proof of the self, I'm using purposely this word eternal proof. For the topic of the self, there is no other proof than Sanatan Dharma scriptures, our Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutra. Please remember that very well. There is no other proof at all. All other people who claim different things, that's purely their understanding. It is definitely not Shastra Sammat. It's not according to the Shastra. For the topic of the self, Our scripture alone is the proof. And once our understanding starts to become in that direction, understand that, slowly, gradually, understanding becomes what? The ignorance in me about the self has slowly, gradually started to recede, or started to fade away, start to burn away. Why I am bringing out this? The ignorance in us, or the, not understanding ourselves, that ignorance which we call of non understanding of the self, has been in us for God knows from time immemorial. Anadi Kal, we call it. Our scripture says from Anadi Kal this avidya has been there. Since this avidya or ignorance have been there, since time immemorial, well, and my experience of the self, which I've started to gain from the scriptures after getting the understanding, is definitely going to be completely against my avidya, against the ignorance which I already have, or against the knowledge of self which I had, which is the ignorance form of not understanding it correctly, and also is going to be against the way world describes us as. These two things are, it's going to be against. That's why, against this understanding of the self, there will be many things standing in front of us to fight and resolve. That is one of the difficulty we have. If, that's why, since there are such kind of difficulties in understanding, and trust me, I'm using two words as point blankly, I'm using it for remarkably for a reason. I'm using it with underline also. Since these are two things standing as an obstacle in knowing ourselves, what are the two things I spoke about? Our ignorance, which have been coming in from time immemorial, and also the varied kind of definitions which I keep hearing about us in this society. You are son of so and so, born in so and so, kula means family, in so and so lineage. You are born as a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. You are, son, your father was a doctor. You're born in a doctor family. You're born in an engineer family. There are so many things which have been imposed on me over and above my ignorance, which have been coming in from time immemorial. These two things keep, becoming a wall, becoming a factor for me to not know the self. Because of these two strong kind of obstacles which are there in both of us, in all of us, that's why our understanding of the self, breaks in between. We gain, we lose. We gain, we lose. We know, we forget. We know, we forget. It doesn't, make us firm in something. It keeps wavering our intellect, because avidya or ignorance have been coming in from time and memorial, and on top of it, this worldly thing, I grew up from the childhood, I've been told, do this, then only you will be successful, reach here, then only you will be successful, achieve this, then only society will recognize you. So many things are superimposed on me over and above my ignorance, which becomes a stumbling block for me. That's why even after knowing the self a little bit, it keeps breaking. Many people come to me in the podcast group which I've created in the WhatsApp also. They came to me and asked me, it is very difficult. Sometimes we know, sometimes we lose. Sometimes we know, sometimes we lose. This is the reason which I'm talking about. Ignorance which have been there from time immemorial. I have become firm in my understanding, wrong understanding of myself from many births, so to say. I do not know how many births I had before. And all those births, what was forced upon me to make me believe what I am? Those understandings become a stumbling block for us to move forward. I have been forced upon these kind of understanding in many life. I have become, and my ego and mind has accepted it, and I've been living a culture, living a life continued with that kind of an understanding. Now to completely overturn it and completely unwind it from there and then move into a different one is going to be very difficult. One thing I definitely wanted to mark here, which I kept telling you who before also. In this world, please be mindful of one thing. And I'm telling you, we all must protect ourselves from this thing. That's something which we all must work towards. Gaining the knowledge of Karma Yoga and gaining the knowledge of self is one thing. Definitely, it needs effort, it needs qualification and other things. There is one thing which is actively happening with everybody around, that is gaining wrong knowledge, gaining misunderstanding, gaining adverse understanding of the self, because of which our faith starts to dwindle. Our faith doesn't find a place to actually put our faith something. We move from belief to belief, belief to belief, belief to belief. We are not able to reach at a faith. Look at the world outside. There are so many speakers. There are so many people talking about, spiritual knowledge. Many are not even qualified to speak about spiritual knowledge, but they are expounding it. And you see the kind of strangeness in this world. People who are not qualified and speaking completely nonsensical things also, you will see that there are thousands and millions of followers for them, and followers have become a benchmark for assessing that how good you are. Very good. If that is the benchmark, if 1 million fools follow you, and there are 10 and intelligent beings who are thinkers follow a guru, that means the a person who's being followed by the fools is greater, or the person who follows guru who's being followed by those intelligent is greater. I don't understand what has become the success benchmark of this world. It's become so seen and so outside, so gross in its level, that I do not know where people are going actually. I feel sad about it. The thing is, don't get caught up in such thing. Trust me, you must make an effort to correct your faith. I'll tell you why I'm putting stress on this word. If by any chance you walk away with a wrong faith created in this life, by God, I'm telling you, God help you, it's very, 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 very difficult to unwind yourself from that wrong knowledge or wrong faith which you have put yourself into. It's very difficult. There are so many things happening outside. That's how this world is. We are in Kali Yuga. It will increase more. Definitely it will increase more. You will have more array of confusions, very less avenues of correct knowledge. That's going to happen, but we must use our choice well. Our choice is the only thing which is given to us. Our choice is only thing which is going to decide whether we make ourselves or whether we mar ourselves, or whether we destroy ourselves. It's all a matter in our hands. I'll use one word which I had given in the previous podcast also. There are people who come and complain to me, you see how many nonsensical things are coming on television these days. Good, bad, ugly, worse. There are programs of spirituality also coming on television channel. There are programs coming of lust and other things also on television channel. People come and complain me, what is going on? You see a serial, you see a film. I don't know where this. There are some movies also which are bringing out very weird side of the society, so to say. I don't even want to bring out their names, because in this pure discussion about the scriptures, I don't want to dirty the words by even taking those names. But I'm just saying, there is no dearth of things available in this whole creation. But there may be millions of things coming on the television channel also. But the biggest thing we need to remember is, use your choice well. Who has got the remote control? You don't sit down and complain that these are coming, those are coming, and they are spoiling, this are spoiling. Did you use your choice well? The remote control which is in your hand, if you don't use it well, don't sit down and complain that that spoiled me, this spoiled me. Man, you have the remote control in your hand, use it well. So that's why it is very important, in the middle of all these things which are available in this creation, it's important for us to use our choice well. Why I am putting a stress on this particular word, why I'm highlighting this word is, it is very difficult to build faith, that's correct. But if by chance you go into a wrong line and you build a wrong faith, or you build an incorrect knowledge, unwinding yourself and correcting that is extremely difficult. In my podcast group also, somebody came and told me that I was looking for stuffs and I followed another acharya somewhere, and I'm so much stuck now, I don't know what to do. Because that's the way we need to understand how our prakriti, our nature works. It's for an ignorant, giving knowledge is easier, but for a person with wrong knowledge, it's very difficult. Why? For giving that person a knowledge, you have to first completely wipe out that incorrect knowledge which is there. Because incorrect knowledge and correct knowledge can't stand. There will be a heap of doubts in that person. Who is going to sit down and resolve it? That's why it is very, very important that before we go from this world here, we must make an effort to correct our faith. So in this spiritual journey, you will see there are many times which happens that oh, things which are we've been told, I have understood it well, I have grasped it well, but suddenly some things happen, it keeps wavering, sometimes anger takes me over. They are all part of nature, they are all part of our inherent nature which have been built for lives to come. We can't suddenly overnight completely unwind them or wipe them clean. No, it's not going to happen. Spiritual practice, that's why these things will come and go. I keep telling in the group also very, very loud and clear that remember, this is where love and devotion for God or grace of God plays a very big role. Never ever lose an effort of growing in love and devotion for God, to seek His grace, to be on the path. In this path, if you think that you alone can manage everything, that's not correct at all. The second thing which happens is punya. Don't lose an opportunity of doing punya in life, because the grace of God and punya alone is going to keep us on the path. These two things are going to bless us with an intellectual purity to understand the subtle subjects. Since these kind of confusions, these kind of doubts, these kind of up and down in my intellectual level and understanding keeps happening, that's why it's like a lamp which is burning outside. The moment a small kind of a breeze comes, this lamp dozes off and we again have to light it. Don't worry about how these things will go, but we have to consistently put an effort on it. Now remember one thing, even when a knowledge is not firm, knowledge has happened, we call it adrid prajna. Adrid prajna means a wisdom or knowledge which is not firm yet, which is not free from doubt yet, knowledge which is not free from doubt yet, knowledge which is not firm yet. Because it is there, it's going to keep wavering me on the path. But remember, even if it is not firm yet, even if it is completely not up to mark up there right now, excuse me, it has got its own beauty. It is definitely better than not having it at all. In our scriptures, in our shruti, the kind of achievement which is spoken about, kind of result which is spoken about of self knowledge is paramam sukham. Paramam sukham means never ending happiness, permanent happiness. Now remember, I told one line in one of the last two sessions that the dichotomy of this whole world is, the paradoxical fact of this world is, we are trying to look for permanent happiness in this impermanent world. Permanent happiness cannot come from this impermanent world. Permanent happiness can only come from the permanent, which is permanently there. So that's why the kind of result of a man of achievement which the scriptures talk about is paramam sukham. That may not happen in such a person and whose knowledge is not yet firm, whose knowledge is not yet fixed, whose intellect is completely not in hand with that particular knowledge. But yes, definitely that person is going to get some benefit. That's definitely going to be there. For normal people, will what seems as something very difficult to achieve, for a man of realization, it is the thing which is there. And Kabir Das ji in one of his doha says, कबीर का घर वहां पर जहां सिलहली गैल, पाव न टिके पिपीलिका, पंडित लादे बैल. It's an example which I'm trying to explain the same situation here. Silhali gal means the kind of algae growth which happens on surface where there is wet surface and all, the fungal growth which happens on the surface, road, or the path and all those things which happens, cemented path or anything where it happens where the water is stuck for a long period of time. He gives an example of pipilika means ant, chinti. Now if you see the actual physical aspect of the ant, the hold of an ant is very strong. Ant technically can walk on any surface, climb up, even if it's like straight going up, ant can climb because its hold is very strong. So Kabir Das ji gives this example of a path where there is algae growth or fungal growth over there, where even an ant slips, is not able to walk steady there. He says at that same place, a vidwan means here a man of wisdom, he is able to take his bullock cart which is topped up with stuffs, which is filled with luggage. He is able to take a bullock cart on that at surface which is filled with algae growth and all, without slipping, is able to walk steady, where even an ant finds it difficult to walk. It keeps slipping here and there. So a vidwan, a kind of a man of wisdom, is able to walk that path very easily. What technically it means is, this entire path of spiritual journey, entire path of self-realization, entire path of walking in, to gain the wisdom of the self and getting firm abidance in the self, it's a very, 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 very delicate path. It's called very sukshmati sukshma. This means very, very subtle. Only an intellect which is, over a period of time purified, over a period of time gained the right qualities, over a period of time has gained the subtlety to grasp that subject, only that kind of an intellect can actually gain the understanding of the self and then further walk towards, having a firm abidance in that self. Our Upanishad also says, Churasya dara nishitam duratteya durgam patastas kavayo vadanti. Durgam patastas kavayo vadanti. It says it is very, 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 very delicate path. Only those people who have required qualifications and have made their intellect purified and subtle enough are able to walk that path. Only those people can do that. For others, spiritual path is like, we'll hold on, we'll drop, we'll hold on, we'll drop. But remember, we must keep this fact in mind, that don't lose the sight of the goal. The hold on and drop off is not because of not getting the blessing of the self. Remember one thing, the moment you decide to turn towards the self, the blessing automatically starts to come in. That's the beauty of the self. Everyone who makes an effort, you don't need to worry about whether it keeps holding on or drops off, whatever. That's not your worry. I told you two things you must work towards is growing in love and devotion for God, so that his grace starts to fall on you. The second thing, don't lose a single opportunity to earn punya. These two things in this up and down on spiritual journey also will keep you there. And what should I go outside? When I was studying also, even today also, These things keep happening. Sometimes sadhana misses, sometimes, Shravan misses. It's not that it is not natural, it's definitely there, because our karma phala also has to do its play, no? But remember, hold on to God. He will never let you fail. That's the beauty of God. That's why I keep telling in the group, it is utmost important and thing for us that we must work hard to grow in love and devotion for God. We must not lose that sight at all. So, like this ant thing which Goswami, the Kabir Das ji explained, our antakarana, our inner equipment also, it happens that the the knowledge of the self enters, but its thought process or that knowledge keeps slipping down here and there. Slipping down means sometimes I get engaged in the world, sometimes I go there, then I forget, then I come back, I forget, I come back. Only when an intellect is gained that subtlety, that time we will be able to work towards making this firm abidance in the knowledge, so to say, to happen. Remember, the one thing which should happen in us is that, which doesn't seem to happen today, is that soham asmi. Soham asmi means I am that self alone. I am that supreme consciousness alone. My core self is that supreme consciousness alone. Even Vishnu Sahasranam, after Falashruti, there is one place where it says, Bhagwan Uvacha, Soham ekena shlokena stuta evana samshaya. The best way to offer prayer to me, devotion unto me, is that I am sitting in you as your supreme self. Bhagwan Krishna says there, Shri Bhagwan Uvacha, Soham ekena shlokena stuta evana samshaya. This thought that Soham asmi should start becoming firm in us. I may forget here and there, but I should come back to that point, that I should work towards making this thought firm, that I am that supreme consciousness alone. This thought process, once it becomes firm, today what happens, it's like a lamp kept at the outside, it keeps dozing off, coming back, dozing off, coming back. But as it becomes firm, it will become a unwavering kind of a lamp. It becomes like that. It becomes like an unwavering light of a lamp, that whatever a breeze comes or wind comes, this will remain there steady. That's the kind of thought process we need to work upon, so to become firm in this knowledge of the self. In such an intellect, what happens is this kind of ignorance is wiped away. In this kind of ignorance is completely washed away. In the intellect, which keeps wavering like the lamp kept at the thing which is affected by the breeze, what happens is the ignorance doesn't get wiped out completely. Intellect, the ignorance is still there. There's some doubt which is remaining there, even though the knowledge is entered, but the ignorance is not completely washed away, and ignorance is remaining there in the form of what? Doubt only. Now in such an intellect, the ability to completely dispel off the ignorance is not there. The actual beauty of this knowledge is what? When my intellect is becoming firm in that particular knowledge, and it becomes unwavering. So the first step towards it is what? In this entire praman vyapar, or in this exchange of knowledge from the scriptures or study of scriptures, the first thing which needs to happen is, there we should build the prajna, we should build the knowledge. The knowledge should happen inside us first. The knowledge should come inside my intellect first. And then the second step is what? We should work towards making it firm. Tattva Bodh also says, in the normal parlance, if we see, from many lives, so to say, where we have lived a life, whichever way, there is a firm understanding of ourself, that I am this, I am this, I am this and that, which is residing in us, right? And when we move from the conscious mind, which is waking state, into the unconscious mind, into the dream state, when even if we see the dream of us in that dream, how will we according to the identification which has already become firm over the past couple of lives, and in this life also. It's just that we started gaining the knowledge of the self, That doesn't mean when I go into the self, I immediately start dreaming myself as the self, as a supreme consciousness. No, it doesn't happen. My dream state arises out of my firm understanding which have been built over in the past lives and this life, so to say. That's why there has to be a constant effort to just make your intellect firm in the abidance of the self or the knowledge of the self, so that my entire conscious mind structure starts to change. And as the conscious mind structure changes, my unconscious mind structure will also change. And slowly, gradually, I will move towards the self. That is what Bhagavan is wanting to talk about in the firm abidance of the self. And Arjun's question is related to that only. You see, we spent this whole session today connecting the three verses 52, 53, and Arjun's question. We will see the rest in the next session. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति 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 ही। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम तत्सत्।